Hook. Imagine the most important day of your life, the day you're about to marry the love of your life, surrounded by family, friends, and laughter. The backyard is glowing with string lights, the air is filled with music, and joy is overflowing. Then suddenly, you hear police sirens, not because of an emergency, but because your neighbor, the infamous HOA Karen, decided your happiness was too loud, too inconvenient, too much for her liking. What she didn't know was that the groom wasn't just anyone. He was the town's police chief. This is a story about love, resilience, standing up against entitlement, and how sometimes karma arrives in the most unexpected, yet perfect way. The backyard was a dream come true. We had spent months stringing together little details to make it perfect. My fiancée copyrightee, Emily, always said she wanted something intimate, not a grand ballroom or a crowded hall, but a place that felt like home. My home, where we built our first garden, where we had coffee on Sunday mornings, where we planned our future. The sun was just beginning to set, painting the sky with soft shades of pink and orange. Laughter filled the air as family and friends settled into their seats, waiting for the music to start. Everything felt magical, except for one looming shadow of the neighbor across the street. Her name was Linda, though everyone in the neighborhood whispered a different name, Karen. She had been the self-proclaimed enforcer of our hope. Even though she wasn't even on the board, she made it her mission to patrol the neighborhood, measuring grass with the ruler, complaining about cars parked half an inch too close to curbs, and handing out warnings she printed at home. When Emily and I first sent out invitations, I knew Linda wouldn't be happy. A gathering of 50 people in the backyard, music, food trucks parked out front. To her, that was chaos. Still, I hoped she'd leave us alone just for one night. After all, weddings don't come around often. But as I stood at the altar, watching Emily step out in her flowing white dress, I saw Linda's blinds twitch. Her silhouette stood stiff against the window, arms crossed. My stomach tightened, but I focused on Emily. She was radiant, glowing, and everything else melted away in that moment. The ceremony went beautifully. We exchanged vows, tears fell, and cheers erupted when we kissed for the first time as husband and wife. Music began to play, and guests clapped along as Emily and I swayed into our first dance. It was perfect, until the sirens came. At first, I thought it was just coincidence, a cruiser passing through. But when two squad cars rolled to a stop right outside my house, lights flashing, my heart sank. Murmurs spread through the guests. Someone whispered, "Who called the cops?" I didn't need to ask. I already knew. Linda stepped out of her house with the proudest smirk I'd ever seen, arms folded like she had just conquered a kingdom. She pointed to our backyard and shouted something to the officers as though she were saving the neighborhood from disaster. I saw my mother's smile fade, guests looking uneasy, and Emily's eyes flicking to mine in worry. My wedding day, our perfect night, was about to be ruined. But Linda had made a mistake, a very big mistake. The officers, two young patrolmen I recognized, walked hesitantly toward the yard. Their eyes scanned the lights, the decorations, the guests enjoying themselves. This wasn't chaos. It wasn't disorderly conduct. It was love, family, and celebration. But they had been dispatched, and they had to follow procedure. Linda strutted behind them like she was their commander, loudly announcing, "I told you, they're violating noise ordinances, blocking the street, and disturbing the peace. You need to shut this whole thing down, right now." Gasps spread through the guests. Emily squeezed my hand. Her eyes begged me not to let this destroy what we had built tonight. I kissed her hand gently, then stepped forward. "Officers," I said calmly, "can I see your call sheet?" They both blinked at me, then recognition flickered across their faces. Their stiff posture softened instantly. "Chief," one of them said quietly. The entire backyard went silent. Heads turned. Even Linda froze, her smugness faltering. I nodded slowly. "Yes, Chief Michael Carter. This is my wedding." For the first time, Linda's face lost all its color. She stuttered, "Wait. You're the police chief." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. My tone carried enough weight. "You wasted department resources on a false emergency call. You tried to ruin the most important day of my life, and in doing so, You violated several laws yourself, filing a false report, harassment, disorderly conduct. The patrolmen exchanged looks, unsure whether to laugh or brace themselves. Linda sputtered excuses, her voice rising into that shrill tone everyone in the neighborhood knew too well. Alia, they were too loud. They were blocking my driveway. I was just trying to protect the community. Protect? I repeated. Linda, you called 911 for a wedding. You endangered real emergencies tonight because you couldn't stand seeing other people happy. That's not protection. That's cruelty. Emily's hand slipped onto mine, grounding me. My guests watched with wide eyes, torn between anger and relief. I turned back to the patrolmen. Officers, thank you for responding. You can enjoy some food before you leave. This call was unfounded. They nodded, smiling awkwardly at the guests before retreating toward the food truck. Meanwhile, Linda stood trembling, her lips pursed so tightly they turned white. She looked like she wanted to scream but couldn't find words. I took one step closer. Linda, this ends tonight. No more harassment, no more intimidation. My wife and I deserve peace in our own home. If you can't give that to us, then I'll take legal action. Consider this your last warning. For the first time since I'd known her, Linda didn't have a comeback. She turned on her heel and stormed back into her house, slamming the door so hard the windows shook. The backyard erupted in cheers. Guests clapped, laughed, and some even whistled. Emily threw her arms around me, whispering, "That was incredible." The music resumed, louder and freer than before. People danced with joy, no longer tense, as if the whole wedding had been baptized in justice. The night became even more unforgettably, not because Linda tried to ruin it, but because she failed, because love had won. Later, as Emily and I stood under the string lights, swaying slowly with our foreheads touching, I thought about the lesson hidden in all of this. Sometimes, life will test you. Sometimes, people will try to steal your joy. But if you stand firm in who you are, if you hold on to love, no one can take that away from you. That night, I married the love of my life. That night, we proved that kindness and strength outshine bitterness every single time. And that night, HOA Karen learned the one truth she'll never forget. You can't shut down love. HOA's strong closing message for viewers: no matter who tries to stand in your way, no matter how unfair the obstacles feel, love and resilience will always carry you through. Don't let anyone steal your joy because it belongs to you, and you alone.